ready to rumble.
What is up, everybody? You are now tuned into the Casual Wrestling Podcast, where each and every week I break down the world of professional wrestling for all the casual fans out there. Sometimes I'm joined by a guest, sometimes we ride solo. Either way, make sure to do your part and hit the like button, as well as drop a comment on the video. Let me know who you are and where you're listening from. It is Tuesday, like Sketch says, Tuesday, December 3rd, coming off the heels of a interesting SummerSlam, I guess is what we'll call it. Plenty to talk about there. We have a Monday Night Raw to discuss, as well as a few tweets that caught my attention this week, plus 2 bonus segments for you guys, all nerdy ones for Christmas and the Casual 5. So let's jump into it. Let's start with Survivor Series. It's one of the big 4. That's what we've been told. Right? We've been told it's one of the big 4. And I spent a lot of time last week talking about how Triple H may mess up the little ones, but he gets the big ones right. Right? He gets the big ones right. Right? Wrong. Oops. Swing and a miss. Definitely was wrong on that one. Survivor Series is one of the big 4. That's what we've been told, right? It goes Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. We've been told that for the last 10, 15 years. Those are the ones that matter? Or did we miss the part where the Saudis bought their way into the Big 4? Is the Big 4 now have Crown Jewel, and Survivor Series is just a filler premium live event in disguise? Have we reshifted the premium live event landscape? So walk with me here, guys. Stay with me. Survivor Series wasn't a terrible show. We've had bad shows in the past. This was not a terrible show. I had higher expectations for Survivor Series. I was let down by Survivor Series, but it wasn't bad. I consider bad to be anything 4 out of 10 and below. I think when I look at this with objective eyes, it's a 5 out of 10. Now, that's not saying much. That's not much better, because a lot of this 5 is carried by the Bloodline. And we knew walking into Canada that this was going to be the Bloodline show to screw up. Like, honestly, if you just look at the premium live event, if you just take the Bloodline match out of context and just look at that match, this premium live event makes a lot more sense. This is what this whole event was centered around. And I don't even know, like, I see the internet overreacting, saying this was a bad Survivor Series. I don't think bad is the correct word. I think bad is a dangerous word. I think the better word to use for Survivor Series is it was safe. It was overly safe. This was a safe premium live event. It did not take any risk. And to me, that can come off as bad. But we have to do something. As casual fans, we have to do something. If we're going to be critical of AEW on a weekly basis, then I can't just give WWE a pass when they play it safe. You know, at least a lot of times AEW fucks up because it's taking risk. And risk are what move the business forward. Triple H played it safe, and the event came off bland. Like, we knew the Bloodline was going to be the big story beat. And I think it hit all the expected things that we wanted from this match. It was everything. It may have been a tad predictable. It didn't have maybe the big moment, that big swerve that we were looking for. We didn't get The Rock. We didn't get Seth Rollins. There was no Brock Lesnar. There was no big surprise, unless you count Bronson Reed jumping off the top of a cage as a surprise, because that surprised the shit out of me. Who approved that moment? Who approved that spot? Who's the booking agent that thought, you know what we should do? We should take the guy who's listed at 330 pounds. Which, look, let's be realistic. You can see Bronson Reed. 330 pounds is what his left titty weighs. Dude is more likely 350, 375. So let's take this guy. Let's put him on top of a 16-foot cage, okay? Now, I'm not a mathematician, but that math ain't mathin' to me. So we got 350 plus pounds. We got 16 feet off the ground, and we got him just free falling through a table. To me, instantly equals ankles go bye-bye. Like, who was producing the match? Who did Bronson go to and say, I have an idea. I'm going to jump 16 feet with nothing to land on but a table? Who said, sure, Bronson, that sounds like a good idea. What could possibly go wrong? Sure, Bronson, we're going to let you take you. It's going to get a hell of a pop. You may not walk for 6 weeks after this, but it's a good idea. It's a moment that this match really needs. We didn't need that. Someone tell me who booked this match that thought 350 pounds off at the top of 16 feet was a good idea. Did it get a pop? Sure. Was it unexpected? Sure. But it was stupid. And we have to be, I said, when we're critical of AEW for the spots they do, we saw Edge do this same thing, guys. We saw Edge jump off the top of a cage, land on his feet, and fuck up his legs. So we don't think the 350-pound guy is going to mess up his legs? Come on, man. I know injuries happen. I get, like, injuries happen, right? I think we walked out of War Games. I think they're officially listing 3 injuries. We got Jimmy, we've got Bronson Reed, and there's one more I can't think of right off the top of my head. Someone else left injured. But, like, you know, did we really need those spots? Those two. I'm particularly talking about the Bronson Reed off the top of the cage, and I'm talking about the Jimmy Uso off the top of the cage. How necessary were those spots? Because you see the risk that is involved. It's almost inevitable. When a guy jumps off of a 16-foot steel cage, there's a high probability he gets hurt. So we come out of this match now with Jimmy Uso broken toe, Bronson Reed, ankle maybe shattered. We don't know. I don't have an official injury report. You know, that to me, that's interesting. Is that a night to celebrate? Do we celebrate Survivor Series knowing we lost 2 major players in the Bloodline story? You know how I know WWE is bullshit right now? Right? Do you know how I know that WWE is full of shit right now? Because they're trying to play this up like this was just like this match is the finality of the Bloodline. I think they fucked it up because of injuries. I think now they're going to have to call some audibles and move in different directions and take stories in places that they weren't going to go. But the one thing I found interesting was, I did find interesting on social media, you had a lot of fans who were critical of the show. But then you had these WWE social media drones, which I told you guys last week. It's obvious Triple H has assembled an army who are going to defend what they see no matter what that is. And that army was out in full force this week. That army was out going, oh, God, this wasn't that bad of a show. I don't know what you guys are talking about. If you don't listen to the IWC, if you don't listen to the talking heads, then sure, it was a fun show. You got to tell me where it was a fun show. If you take the main event by itself, sure, like I said, it's a serviceable show. It's a safe show. But you WWE drones, you got to tell me, explain to me, explain in detail. Don't just do the thing where you go, oh, you're overreacting. No, I'm reacting appropriately. What you're doing is trying to gaslight because you've been endorsed by WWE, so doesn't matter. You're never going to be critical. And that's bullshit. I call bullshit on that. If in a vacuum, you look at this event, if you showed up in Vancouver and you bought tickets for this event, you came on Saturday night to see Survivor Series, you got a safe show. You didn't get what you paid for. This was not the Big Four style of premium live event that you're expecting when you show up to Survivor Series. And I know there was even discourse in the casual Discord, like of people saying, this show left us without a lot of angles, without a lot of stories coming out of Survivor Series. I think you can rest easy. I don't think it's that big of a problem. I think that Survivor Series is going to be an event that is forgotten, that is left behind. It's what I'm going to call the great Netflix reset, where we're resetting. I still think there's plenty of directions that you can go with the stories that came out of Survivor Series. For the Bloodline, the end was never solo. Like the end game was never going to be Solo Sikoa. So there was a lot of us, me included, who said Solo can't lose here because where do you go? But the reality is Solo was never the final boss. The Rock is the final boss. That's ultimately where we're going. I think that from here, Jacob Fatu now has a reason to start doubting his tribal tree. All the "I love you, Solo" shit is probably over. It's now, what the hell happened, Solo? That's probably what we get in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to start to center this story around the fractures in Solo's bloodline. And I think we'll start to get hints and teases that The Rock is figuring out a way to insert himself into this storyline. I don't think Survivor Series was meant to be as integral as we wanted it to be. I think we all wanted The Rock to show up. I think we wanted that story beat right now. I don't think that's what this was meant for. I think Survivor Series was more meant to kind of be the finality to Solo being the top dog of the new bloodline. It just existed to create the cracks in the armor. That's all that it existed for. But I ask a question. I'll ask a question to everybody. Is there a world that exists where The Rock takes out Solo at some point and Solo Sikoa ends up back into the OG bloodline? Because it looked like on Monday Night Raw, Sammy may navigate into his own storylines. Is there a world where the bloodline just doesn't get back together? It looked at the end of that premium live event, there was the huddle that featured Jay, Jimmy, Sammy, and CM Punk, and Roman was kind of on the outside. I question, is this story going in a direction that is Roman on his own and we're dissipating the bloodline, and this was the finality for the bloodline? There's so many questions coming out of Survivor Series, and those are good questions. Those are questions that lead to more storytelling, to more surprises. I think, like I said, the focus from here really shifts to how do we get to The Rock versus Roman Reigns? That's the end goal. That's the destination that most of us still assume we're going to. Now, I've seen online, I've seen in the Discord, I've seen the people who now say Rock's off the table. They're setting up for Roman Reigns versus CM Punk down the road. Once again, I think this is Triple H playing the game of look in this direction while I set up everything in this direction. To me, it's still The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Until I'm told for 100% certain that The Rock's not coming back to main event WrestleMania, I just won't buy into there's any other match than that. That's the biggest match you can make in the world right now. So I don't like making excuses for WWE. That's not something I do. I'm critical of AEW, and when it's appropriate, I'm critical of WWE. I'm critical of Triple H. But I think we have to be realistic. I think we have to look at Survivor Series as less of a Big Four premium live event and really kind of the end of a chapter. This was kind of, to me, the finality of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. We now have begun the ascent up the mountain. We are just weeks away from Monday Night Raw transferring over to Netflix, and I think Survivor Series was more of a reset. I think it was a cutoff. I don't think Triple H wanted to do too much with story, and I know that sounds, I don't even like it coming out of my mouth because it sounds like an excuse, but this is the logic that I'm using is Triple H didn't want a lot of storytelling in the women's match because he didn't want to have a bunch of baggage transferred over when these new stories begin to take form in the next couple of weeks leading into Netflix. He didn't want certain people, like I don't think he wanted a ton of drama in the women's match. I just don't think he did. I think that I'm going to be of the belief that LA Knight is somebody that Netflix wanted, so they had to get the title off of him. That's why we were in a rush. That's why we got 2 weeks. I think Triple H is starting to arrange the chess pieces on the board so that when we get to Netflix, all of the players he wants, the Bloodline, LA Knight, all of those guys will be in position to build up Monday Night Raw to be the beefy show. Like Monday Night Raw is carbo loading right now, right? Monday Night Raw is kind of beefing up. It's fattening up. You know, I think you're going to get the Bloodline. I think you're going to get LA Knight. I think Bianca Belair probably finds a permanent home on Monday Night Raw, possibly. But I think like you start to see a shifting of the roster, and guys like Cody, KO, Shinsuke, they're going to have to hold down the SmackDown fort. They can come over, but I think Raw is like there's going to be disparity between these two rosters. But that leads me to my first new segment, or bonus segment, we'll say, for this week. And that is, this leads me to a segment I'm calling What Nerdy Wants for Christmas. And so I have 5 things that Nerdy wants for Christmas, starting with number 1. All I want for Christmas is for Tiffany Stratton to finally cash in her damn Money in the Bank so we can be done with Nia Jax as champion. That's all I want. Nia has run her course. She has held down the fort for long enough, but it is time to move on. I am tired of Nia Jax. It's starting to feel like overexposure. She's not great on a microphone, and the more you let her talk, the less she feels dominant, and the more she feels like she just wants to whine and complain. Let's move on. Let's go. We're going to be in Tiffany Stratton's hometown. Let's do the cash in. Let's move on. Let's get to whatever is next for Tiffany Stratton. Okay? Number 2, all I want for Christmas is for The Rock to hurry up, show up, and start the new power struggle with the Bloodline. Whatever that is. January 6th, Netflix, Monday Night Raw, show up, Dwayne, get this thing started so we can have some assurances moving into WrestleMania that this is actually what we're doing, because, like I said, this is the biggest match we can have in wrestling history. Don't screw us out of this again. Number 3, all I want for Christmas is for Kevin Owens to beat Cody Rhodes and become the new WWE champion. It is time for KO, the best in the business, to win the WWE title, and let's roll that. Let's use that momentum to roll into WrestleMania, and let's do Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania for the WWE title. Triple H, go ahead and book that. Number 4, all I want for Christmas is Drew McIntyre to be World Heavyweight Champion and to show up and destroy Gunther. We got one of these things on Monday. We got, our guy Drew's back. Now all I need, he can run through Sami. If first item of business is taking out Sami Zayn, let's put a check through that. Let's be done with CM Punk, and let's go to the source of the problem on Monday Night Raw. Let's have Drew McIntyre go get what he deserved all along. We took Drew for granted. We thought, Gunther would make a good champion. We thought, Damian would make a good champion. No, the man we need is Drew McIntyre. Let's give Drew a long, glorious title run. That's all I want for Christmas, okay? And number 5, all I want for Christmas is for Montez Ford to get a solo run that ends with some sort of title. I know that's very unlikely. I know at this point it looks like he's never going to leave the tag team world. But if I can't have that, can we at least get Bianca Belair joining the Street Profits and having just a kind of dirty heel run together? Like, they can all do it. It could be Montez. It could be Bianca. It could be, what's the old boy's name? Can't think of his name. But you know what I'm talking about. The whole squad. Put them together. We got a power heel couple. Is that too much to ask, Triple H? That's all I want. That's what I have. That's what I have on my Christmas list right now. Give me those things and I'm good. Like I said, I think we're headed towards this great Netflix reset. And we might be getting some of the things on my Christmas list. I hope we are. Like, I think Cody needs to lose. It's time for KO to win. I think that KO is as big as you can get. I think it creates a great story for Cody Rhodes, creates a great adversary for Cody Rhodes. We need those things. Like I said, I still think it's a long shot that Bianca turns heel. I love the possibility of it. Ever since We Too Deep implanted that into my head, that there was a possibility that Bianca was responsible for Jade Cargill, to me, that's the story I want in the women's division. That's the one that gets me excited, whether it's on Raw, whether it's on SmackDown, wherever they put it, I'm excited for that. But I rolled into Saturday wanting to like the women's war game match. I did, like, even with the lack of story that it had. And believe me, I'm the story guy. That's what I'm here for, is the story. So it's hard to get me excited. But I put that to the side and I said, you know what? I'm going to be excited whether or not it has story. And I rolled into Saturday thinking, man, we still got Io Sky. She can give us some big moments. We still got Nia Jax. Hopefully she shows up. We still got Bianca Belair. We got Rhea Ripley. We got Liv Morgan. Nope. It never materialized. It never came together. Not even close. We can look past the point of having no story at this point, because that was not the biggest problem that we saw on Saturday night. Like we can look past that. How about the fact that Nia Jax, we saw on Saturday, just can't swing a chair? Like, that seems like wrestling 101. You should be able to hit somebody with a chair. And so if we know this about Nia Jax, why are we putting her in the match so early? And why are we putting someone of her size in the match so early when clearly she gassed out in the first 3 minutes of the match? Who thought this was a good idea? I want to know who was booking the 2 War Games matches, because there are some questionable decisions that happen, right? Another thing, Bayley, hey, chill out. You don't have to yell out the call-outs in the match. They could hear you in the top row. Like, it is okay to whisper in the ear. I get it. Like, maybe you're in there with a lot of inexperience. Maybe you're in there and you've got to conduct the show, but you don't have to yell it out loud. And Io Sky, hey, we could do something that doesn't require a trash can. I know everybody, all the IWC are losing their shit for Io Sky. Oh my God, she did a backflip in a trash can. Cool. It's to me, it's just ridiculously stupid, super dangerous. And for like those little, I don't like those high choreographed spots. They just, to me, they take away from the realism of what that storytelling in that match could be. When you have someone get out a purple and gold trash can, it's got a special string tied to it. They climb up the cage, they put it on their head, and they backflip. That's Circus Soleil. That's the shit that you go to Las Vegas to pay for. That's not, to me, that's not a great professional wrestling spot. Now, it got over with the IWC. The IWC love it. Great. But to me, it just added to a match that was extremely confusing and extremely messy. Like, I still don't understand why we couldn't have put together a coherent match that made sense. You had story built in, right? Bianca Belair had 6 to 8 months of story built up with Bayley and Io Sky. She had all of this like bad taste in her mouth, and it was absolutely just forgotten in one night. There was they didn't even play on any of that tension. And that's the shit, to me. That's the stuff that's insulting to our intelligence as fans. Like, we invest into the story arc only to have it dropped when it's just easier for Triple H to act like it didn't happen. It's better to they should have drawn attention. They should have drawn tension from that. Like, they should have acknowledged that stuff was happening. That, to me, that's, those are the points that you have to get. But the worst part to me, the worst part of the Survivor Series match is that I've had to kind of come to the realization that the IWC has been talking about Rhea Ripley for the last 3 or 4 weeks, calling her Super Rhea in the likes of like Hulk Hogan and John Cena. I'm a little bit embarrassed at this point that I didn't pick up on this earlier. Rhea Ripley's booking is becoming ridiculous at this point. Like, she's become the invincible wrestler, and that stuff takes a toll on fans. She took 5 shots with a baseball bat and showed no signs of slowing down. Let's do just an experiment. Let's hit any other person 5 times with a baseball bat, and maybe let's sell the injury a little bit, right? Like, Triple H, you are in serious danger right now of overbooking Rhea Ripley, someone who I thought was untouchable, someone who I thought was going to ultimately be, I thought, the greatest women's wrestler of all time. You are in danger right now of oversaturating the wrestling world with the invincibility of Rhea Ripley at this point. At this point, right now, you have Liv Morgan, who got off to a good start. I was a defender of Liv Morgan early in her title run. But now you have Liv Morgan, who's taken 2 big pins in premium live events and with no real victories to speak of. You have her hitting Rhea Ripley with a baseball bat, which should be your ultimate equalizer. And you just showed the whole world nothing. It's never going to be enough. There's nothing that Liv can do to equalize her lack of size, her lack of athleticism, whatever it is, that there's nothing Liv can do. So ultimately now, as fans, we're in a period where we go, well, it's just a matter of time now until Rhea Ripley wins this title back. It's just, when do they decide to give it back to her? But the problem is, Triple H, I'm going to speak to you straight man to man here. You can't throw these War Games matches together in 3 weeks. These matches have to have lore. They have to have storytelling, or you end up with all of these glaring holes, and you end up with people like me, even casual fans, picking apart the discrepancies of the match. The Bloodline, they had years of lore. That's why that works. These women didn't have... There was no rhyme or reason for them to come together. This should have been a standard 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. There shouldn't have been weapons. There shouldn't have been a cage. This should have just been, hey, here's these 5 women. Here's these 5 women. This is Survivor Series, so we're going to give you this match. War Games should be reserved for stories that need an ultimate payoff. I am of that belief now. We've now had enough War Games matches that I'm it's out of my system, that it's the appeal isn't the War Games match anymore. And so I'm now to the point where let's save the War Games for the big payoff. There shouldn't be a mandatory 2 War Games a night. It's okay to do 1 Survivor Series, 1 War Games. It's okay to do 2 War Games if you have 2 stories that need payoff, but this story didn't need a Survivor Series payoff. And so we can't let this slide anymore, Triple H. We can't let it slide that, like, you booked LA Knight's title run, the guy who was possibly the hottest wrestler coming out of WrestleMania. You booked him like shit, and now we have an IWC darling for a U.S. champion who barely speaks English. Does anybody miss Logan Paul right now? You know, this is why I see, like, the path ahead, the great reset. I see SmackDown, that's a tough sell. Like, I get Shinsuke looks badass with the mask. I get Shinsuke's his entrance is dope. Love the whole new setup, but he's still got to go out and entertain. And I don't know. Prove me wrong, Shinsuke. Prove me wrong, but I don't know that you can do it. You know, Triple H, we let it slide that you robbed us once again of an emotional moment with Sheamus. Feel like that was the perfect opportunity to just get that out of the way. Like, we've been wanting that for a long time. This felt like the perfect opportunity to get that out of the way. But we can't let these things slide. We can't continue to let things slide. Like, we can't let it slide that you gave us maybe the most back-ass words WWE World Heavyweight Championship match that I've ever seen. You put the snooze general in there with this fucking street rat, Damian Priest. Literally just, you took, what this is Triple H saw that Damian Priest and Gunther had a little bit of chemistry a couple premium live events ago. So he goes, all right, let's run it back. We could do that again. We'll let lightning strike twice. The problem is that you took everything that made that match special and you pulled it out and you tried to spin the creative to give us this idea that, like, Gunther is the beaten down kind of, self-doubting world champion, and now Damian Priest has elevated to this, like, cocky street king. That's not what made that work the first time. It worked the first time because Gunther needs to be a heel, and the closest he's ever gotten to a heel is when he talked down to Damian Priest. Flipping this around just fucked that up. So now, to me, as a casual fan, I have to ask the question: is there anybody right now that wouldn't be more happy if Drew McIntyre was champion? Is there anybody right now that wouldn't be happy if CM Punk was champion? Shit, I think at this point, we would take Braun Breaker as World Heavyweight Champion over Gunther. I'll go one step farther. I think I would be more excited right now if Karrion Kross or Bronson Reed were World Heavyweight Champion. I think they have more personality. I think they have more potential. I think Triple H, it's time to pull the trigger, fresh blood on that World Heavyweight title. I think it's time. Give me Drew McIntyre. But that leads me to the second bonus segment of this podcast, and that is, this is my new, I'm gonna identify my top 5 favorite wrestlers right now. This is who I think are the most commercially viable. This is who Triple H, if you're listening, Triple H, these are the people you need to be pushing. These are the people that the casual audience wants to see successful. And it should come to no surprise to anybody who listens to this show. Starting with number 1, Bianca Belair. Most commercial. She's the most commercially viable woman you have on the roster. Stop dicking around. Turn her heel. Let's get that thing started. Let's give Bianca the Roman Reigns arc. Number 2, shouldn't come as a surprise, her husband, Montez Ford. What are we doing? We have maybe the most athletic man in the entire wrestling world. He's got charisma. He's got the background story. He's got everything you need to be a world champion, and he can't get a mid-card title. That's absolutely ridiculous. Number 3, Kevin Owens. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. He's the best in the business all around. I will argue it with anybody who wants to argue. It's not Cody. It's not MJF. It's not Bryan Danielson. It's not Roman Reigns. When you go tally for tally, score for score, every aspect of professional wrestling, Kevin Owens is that guy. Fight me. Argue me. You just won't win. Number 4, Drew McIntyre. He's the most overlooked superstar in WWE. It is time to put the World Heavyweight title on him. Time to let him carry the company on his back. Let him run into the Netflix era as the World Heavyweight Champion. And then finally, number 5 is CM Punk, who proved at Survivor Series, not only does he still belong, but there's a world where CM Punk could right now be the most popular wrestler in all of WWE. That social media clip between Roman Reigns and CM Punk did like 101 million views or some astronomical number. But here's the thing. If you go back and watch Survivor Series, you hear a lot of CM Punk chants. You hear a lot of the crowd that were interested in CM Punk. So that's interesting to me. That's the casual 5 right now. So let's wrap up the Survivor Series talk. Survivor Series isn't a big 4. I think as of this point, we can kind of make it official. The big 4 are WrestleMania, it's SummerSlam, it's Royal Rumble, and I think it's Crown Jewel. I think from now on that Survivor Series is going to become the new Hell in a Cell. It's a gimmicky premium live event that's going to happen. So let's break down what we saw on Raw real quick, right? I purposefully didn't watch Raw with the Discord this week. I wanted to come in kind of clear-minded. I think sometimes we all tend to sway each other. And before Raw started, I saw my guy Dead Chef post a poll in the Discord that said, on a scale of 1 to 5, which is a very weird scale, by the way. Let's go 5 to 10. I don't like 1 to 5, but on a scale of 1 to 5, how optimistic are you for this Raw? I said 5. I'm extremely optimistic because I think coming out of a poor SummerSlam, Triple H is going to have a couple things up his sleeve. And so I went back after Raw and I scrolled up and I saw there's mixed reviews. There's mixed reviews on Twitter. There's mixed reviews in the Discord. There's mixed reviews all around. Some people say great Raw. Some people say bad. I say 4 out of 10. And I say 4 out of 10 because this is kind of what I expected, right? It was Survivor Series was the great reset. We are now in a new chapter. We are in the Netflix era of professional wrestling, of Monday Night Raw. We began to lay seeds for the stories that are going to shape 2025, right? We laid seeds for CM Punk and Seth Rollins, a feud that I still believe is going to steal WrestleMania. It is going to be the biggest fanfare match of WrestleMania. If we get Rock and Roman, that has the most commercial appeal. But from a wrestler's wrestling match, I think CM Punk and Seth Rollins will steal the show at WrestleMania. We got the return of Big Drew, which is what I wanted. It's what I was asking for. We got the return. We can get out of the way whatever he wants here, but we're gonna see the ascension of Drew McIntyre, and that started on Monday Night Raw, which was well needed. I think there's a world now where I believe, based on what I saw yesterday, that WrestleMania could be Gunther versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship, that Drew could be winning it at WrestleMania to give him that proper moment that he didn't get last year. To me, I think there's a world where that exists. What else happened on Raw? I thought that the women's United States title tournament match was fun. I'm a Dakota Kai fan. Like, I think she has casual commercial appeal. If she can stay healthy, which is, that's asking a lot of Dakota Kai because she's been injury prone, she's infectious. And I think that infectious is something that gets overlooked by the IWC often. Infectious is there's just something that, like, I see a lot of people who like Dakota Kai and they can't really explain why. I think she's my odds-on favorite to win the United States Championship. She's put some distance between herself and Damage Control. I think she's kind of forging her own path. I like the initial setup. I like this triple threat tournament style. I think it adds shenanigans to these matches, and it allows for like people like Shayna Baszler to be beat while still seeming dangerous in that tournament. Monday Night Raw gave us the setup for Rhea and Raquel, which, to be real honest with you, until they humanize Rhea Ripley, I've lost interest in kind of anything that involves Rhea Ripley right now. Like Triple H, I understand that Cena and Hogan, those are big people for the business. Those are big sellers. But I think Rhea Ripley she's not that personality type. She needs some vulnerability. She's starting to wear on the casual audience. Like, and don't think for a minute that as casual fans, we believe because Raquel Rodriguez was able to throw her into a table and hit her eye socket again, that's vulnerability. We need a couple weeks of it looking like things are going bad for Rhea Ripley for us to get behind her again and reinvest into that story. But the first 30 minutes of Raw were electric. Like I said, Punk is on top of his game right now. It's funny what happens when you take a guy like CM Punk and put him in a stable work environment. All of a sudden, he's a high-functioning adult, and he's not fighting with people in the back. That says quite a bit about the locker room chemistry of AEW, I think. But let's be clear. There was one story on Raw that overshadowed everything else. And there was one reason, if you didn't watch Monday Night Raw, to go back and watch it, and that was the New Day. The New Day story. Holy shit. Like Swerve, maybe Swerve of the year. Like Wrestling 101, psychology. Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it, guys. This was a fun moment. This was a big moment. And this has implications that are going to get real saucy in the future. Because one, you can bet your ass. I see people on the internet speculating what's Big E's contract status, what's going on with Big E. Here's what I believe. Big E is cleared or extremely near being cleared to wrestle, and WWE has secured him under some kind of contract, and they have plans for a big emotional return for Big E. Like, strap in, this is going to be a roller coaster. Number two, like, break up what? Triple H once again had us expecting that Xavier Woods was going to break up with Kofi Kingston, but nope. Big swerve here. We get them both going heel, which I'm not mad at, boys. This is going to be fun. A dark version of the New Day with both Xavier and Kofi for the next couple of weeks. That's going to be fun. I think what's happening is we are entering in to the final chapter of the New Day. This is the end of the book. And so now everything makes a little bit more sense to me, right? Maybe the reason we've been stalling all of these weeks is because Big E has been going from doctor to doctor trying to figure out, all right, I'm clear. You sure I'm clear? We're double checking I'm clear. I feel like maybe that's a little bit of the stall. Maybe that's how we got to where we are. And even if it's not for a full-time return, if Big E gives us one or two farewell matches, I'm in. Sign me up. Choo-choo, motherfuckers. I'm on this new day Big E train. Like, imagine WrestleMania 41. Imagine this new darker version of the New Day goes on a little bit of a run. Then all of a sudden they get tired of each other. They break up. Big E's back involved, and now it's a triple threat match. Kofi versus Xavier versus Big E at WrestleMania. Holy shit, sign me up. How do I watch this match? We're making magic here, Triple H. I know you listen to what I say, Triple H, because half the shit you do comes from ideas that you get off of this podcast. So write this one down. I'm cooking. Give me the New Day triple threat match at WrestleMania. But like I said, I think I'm a little more optimistic than most people are heading into the Netflix era of wrestling. I'm excited for what's to come. So joining me now is my better half, Level Up Lauren. I'm sure you have some questions based on the crazy shit I just talked about. But this is a part of the show where you get to you're in. I unmuted you. Everything's good.
All right.
Everything's live. You're in color. What you got for me?
I definitely kind of took everything in with your whole WWE's full of shit and it's a Netflix reset.
Sure, I blacked out. I don't even remember half the shit I just said.
I had a couple of questions.
Sure, go for
it. So you said it was a safe premium live event, but would you rather have a safe premium live event or like, I'm playing this out like this would happen, like shitty, and then one big thing happen?
Shitty, one big thing.
Okay.
If I'm being really honest, at least there's the one big thing to hang on to. Because I believe, like I've said this for a while, I think Triple H uses this as a strategy, and I've called this the UFC strategy for a long time. There's a strategy where if you think of, let's say you have The Rock coming back, right? You don't have to give this amazing first 4 matches if The Rock's coming back at the end. Because all that people are going to talk about, all that's going to get remembered is The Rock. Yeah. So it's great when we can just get 5 solid matches. That's the best. That's what we all ask for. We ask the wrestling gods for that all the time. Second to that though is I prefer a night that has 1 or 2 big moments that I can hang on to and talk about after that versus what we got at Survivor Series, which is a premium live event that really kind of feels like just par for the course, right? Just like the Bloodline was good, but it was kind of what we expected. I don't love that we lost Bronson Reed. I don't love that Jimmy's toe is broken, right? Like I don't like it seems like there's a lot of negative coming out of the event. It doesn't seem like it didn't rally the fan base. I don't think that the bulk of the fan base is screaming how great this was. I think the thing that Survivor Series needed was like one big, like a Drew McIntyre return at Survivor Series would have been that thing that kind of lifted it up. Instead, they saved that for Raw. So if you're asking, like, what do I prefer? I prefer a night that is, shitty, and then has that one big moment that I can hang on and go, at least we had this.
True. I can see that. Well, now my next question was, so during the match, I thought that, like, oh, shit, Bronson's got to be hurt. So did he get hurt when he jumped?
Yeah, his ankle's just, if you go back and watch it in slow motion, his ankle.
Really?
Like, but I mean, he's huge.
Like,
I can't jump off a curb without fucking up my ankle, right? Like,
I mean, you said it, like, who decided that's something that should be done? Well,
we have this argument all the time, and we have to be fair, right? Because I've had this argument with plenty of people online where I go, AEW's reckless. AEW does a lot of shit that doesn't make sense, and it's all for what? This is one of those all for what moments when I look like, what was the payoff? Yeah, okay, cool, right? Crazy that Bronson Reed jumped off the top. And in the moment, we were all like, oh my God, holy shit. But is it worth the injury? Is it worth, like, was that little pop that didn't affect the story at all?
Yeah.
Was that worth the casualty of losing Bronson Reed? I say it's not. And I also say, when you're putting this together, like, to me, there are things like Io Sky jumping off the top of the cage backwards in a trash can with 7 people down there to catch her.
She does.
It's fairly safe, right? Yeah. It's. I know it seems crazy, but it's fairly safe. They're going to absorb that blow. They're going to catch her. You're talking about the plan was to have Bronson Reed jump off the top of a 16-foot steel cage, right? Down onto a table that has nobody there to catch him.
Was he meant to actually fall on Roman and then in the last minute they pulled him?
No, because when I say, it didn't have story implications. It did have story implications in the sense that, like, this was the moment where CM Punk pulled Roman Reigns off of the table, and it became like Roman going, oh, I trust you now because you saved my life.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I just thought that there's a big motherfucker coming, I better move.
That was the story beat. It was the turning point in the match where Roman helped CM Punk up, and now, hey, we're at least buddies for the rest of this match. But still, like,
I have a question. How many times do you think he actually practice it? Do you think he actually did it?
No. I don't. How do you practice that, right? Because what's worse than that is going out there, 30 minutes before the show and trying it and blowing your knee out. Now you're out of the match, right?
True.
I think it's one of those things that it gets kind of talked about in passing. Can you do this? Sure, I can do this.
Yeah.
Someone goes, here's the best way to do this. Problem is, here's the best way to do this if you're 6'2", 180 pounds. There's no way to prepare a guy who's, 6 foot, 5'11", 380 pounds.
The amount of force that comes down from that is crazy.
Like I get probably should have landed on your stomach, but that's maybe worse. He put his feet down, and that's what happens when you have ankles. If you look at ankles, the way the body's designed, they're not designed to take everything that's on the top of Bronson Reed and have that come crashing down on what's on the very bottom of Bronson Reed. That just sounds
like it hurts.
Yeah, definitely. Not good.
So when did Jay hurt his toe? That's where I'm confused.
On the other one where he jumped off the top in a table spot, that was way safer. It's a way safer spot. Yeah, because
he's smaller. But
and there was somebody there to absorb
it's why
impact.
The ref kind of went to go check on him, right? Mr. Flowy-haired blonde guy.
I'm sure. Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. I love to watch that ref and his reactions and what he's going to do and stuff.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. The Jimmy spot, I'm not as critical as that because that's a pretty normal wrestling spot, right? He's a guy known for jumping. He kind of knows that feeling. Probably freak accident, hit your toe. A broken toe, and like I've had a broken toe before. It's not debilitating. It's not. You can still.
It's just not very nice.
Yeah, like Bronson Reed's ankles. I don't know. I haven't seen like an injury report.
He's in a wheelchair.
I imagine he's fucked up. That's a lot of weight.
I mean, like if my foot hurts, I don't want to walk. So
sure.
Okay, so speaking of the bloodline, you said there's fractures in the bloodline. Like what do you mean?
So Solo, the way Survivor Series ended, it was this big finale of everybody hitting their finisher on Solo Sikoa, right? It was Roman to the spear or Superman punch, Jay, Jimmy, CM Punk, everybody hit their finisher, and it was this big finale of, Solo was supposed to be the guy to take down Roman. He's the new tribal chief. Now all of a sudden, he has to show up on Friday having the ultimate defeat, right? And his bloodline was kind of based on this idea that they were real confident he could take out Roman.
I thought
he still has the Ula Fala. He still has the red necklace. So there's still things that have to be worked out in this story. But I believe going into Friday that the conversation is going to be Solo trying to regather the troops. But I think, Jacob has had this like undying loyalty for Solo. And I think you start to see cracks. That's what I mean by cracks. Like there may not be so much, I love you, Solo, you're my tribal chief. It may be more like, hey, what the fuck? I'm kind of the guy here. I think there'll be a power struggle for the Ula Fala. Like I wouldn't doubt.
Who do you think the next person who gets it is?
So that's what I was about to say. I wouldn't doubt if there's a moment on SmackDown where the Ula Fala hits the ground and maybe Roman, Solo, and somehow Jacob comes away picking it up. I wouldn't doubt that. No. Jay is not in line to be the next tribal chief. I think that, like I said, ultimately where we're building is to The Rock and Roman. Yeah. That's, I think, where we're going.
Can that happen with Moana going on, or is he too busy?
No, sure. He's by April.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes to
January.
Do Moana.
He's done all the promotion. Oh, you're talking about filming Moana?
Yeah.
I think movies take a couple months.
He has to wear like a super
sure, but I think movies take a couple months. I think so. The reason he didn't show up right now is I think he's getting all of that cleared up. I think, like, I'm still of the belief he has kept April clear. That's why Moana and Red One, these movies came out in December. That's why he's filming Moana in December, is because he's cramming all this into the end of the year. Because I think come January, he shows up at Royal Rumble, whether it's in Royal Rumble or just at Royal Rumble. I think that's where he starts, and I think he goes January to April pretty solid.
True.
That's what I believe.
So speaking of champions,
sure.
You said that Drew McIntyre came back.
Yeah, he's back.
So has he ever been a champion?
Yeah. Yes. So the story with Drew McIntyre is...
Wait, he was for a hot minute, right?
Yeah. So pandemic. Drew was the champion, and he kind of got us through wrestling in the pandemic. He was, I think, supposed to win it, and then everything went to shit. And so he won it in an empty arena, and he carried it for I don't remember how long, but for a good time in the empty arena phase of WWE. And then he lost it, and I think a lot of people go, he never got a proper run with the title with the crowd. So the whole run up to this past WrestleMania was this idea that he was going to win it at Wrestle, and he did, right? He won it, and then it was Gunther, right? Was it? No, Damian Priest cashed in.
Yeah.
Priest cashed in on and got, and so that's how that went.
All right. So speaking of champions, right? You're talking about Nia Jax, that she could barely lift a chair and she gets winded.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that they've chosen her to be the champion?
So I heard Eddie Guerrero say something the other day. And it was, there's two reasons they put a belt on a champion. Number one, they want to make you somebody. Or number two, they believe you're somebody who can make somebody else. And I think that the play the whole time has been Tiffany Stratton's next in line. Like, there's no doubt, right? I
like her.
I like her. Yeah, I think everybody likes Tiffany Stratton. I think everybody sees her potentially as a next big thing in professional wrestling. And so I think that the idea was to build Nia Jax up, to create a champion, and then to have her befriend Tiffany Stratton. And it is this, like, so you have to turn Tiffany babyface at some point. I think she's going to be babyface. I think she's too likable to be a bad guy forever. And so the ultimate way to do that is to have kind of Nia beat down. I think look for them to crank up Nia being an asshole to Tiffy this week. And look for the cash in to be real soon. I think I would be on alert for a cash in. I think that's going to happen soon. So to answer your question, I think Nia as champion is, number one, she's physically imposing, right? Yeah. Like, she makes a good champion. I just don't like when she talks. Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. There's a lot of people I say, like I used to say about Ronda Rousey, some people are so physically imposing that they don't need personality.
Yeah.
You just show up, and Brock Lesnar is a great example of this, right? Brock doesn't have to talk. Most of when Brock comes back, it's usually come in, F5 somebody, give a couple looks to the camera, and then get the fuck out of there, right? He doesn't do a ton of talking. I think Nia is more opposing when she just doesn't say anything. Yeah.
Better. Never mind. Not going to say it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that leads me to, you said physically imposing.
Sure.
Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that Rhea Ripley's overrated?
No, that's my argument. No, I think she is potentially on the path of becoming the greatest women's wrestler of all time. It has nothing to do with the rating, right? I think when I talk about like Kevin Owens and the intangibles, and you start clicking boxes is what I call it, right? Mm-hmm. Can they talk on a microphone? Click that box, right? Are they good in the ring? Click that box, right? Can they do comedy? Click that box. Rhea Ripley clicks all those same boxes as Kevin Owens. Possibly the best in the ring. Great on a microphone. Can do the comedy. Can do the serious. The issue with what's going on with Rhea Ripley right now is if she's just too physically imposing, it wears you. Like, if Iron Man has to feel like Iron Man can be defeated, does that make sense? Batman, there has to be chinks in the armor. There has to be vulnerable spots. It has to, like, if you get hit with a baseball bat, that should have took Rhea Ripley out. But instead, it just always feels like she turns into the Hulk.
Oh, yeah. You know? Else.
And then it's like nothing can stop her. She's going to win this match no matter what the odds are. And that's good for small periods of time. That's great. But right now we're in this stretch with Rhea, and I know people are going to argue that, like, coming out of the Judgment Day, there was a little bit with Rhea Ripley, but it wasn't long enough. And it really kind of happened due to circumstance of her getting injured. The only thing that's going to stop Rhea Ripley is injury, because it does feel like 2 or 3 times this year she's been kind of held out by injury.
Her neck or something, right?
I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember either. Do you think that Rhea Ripley could still be Rhea Ripley without the whole like Dom and Poppy and all that stuff situation.
Yeah, 100%. She's past. I think she is evolved past all of that. She doesn't need. In fact, I think the danger is now of keeping her around it too long. Mm-hmm. I think if I was WWE and I was booking Rhea Ripley, the next thing I would do is I'd put her in a match with Dominic Mysterio, and I would end that. I would just let her destroy.
Instead of keeping it on.
Yeah, I would let her destroy him. The way you sell it is he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to have the fight, and he gets beat up by her, something like that. You got to create some finality to that storyline, but I do think that you eventually get into danger of keeping her around too long. I think it's time to move her on. I think, like I said last week, I like the idea of Bianca Belair turning heel because I think a heel Bianca Belair could cause serious issues for Rhea Ripley. It's a very believable situation to have.
That would be a good matchup.
Bianca Belair start to terrorize Rhea Ripley and doubt herself. And that way, you really create kind of a hero's journey for her. Because the problem is for Rhea Ripley is the same problem that there was for Chyna. And that is they're going to have to create believable bad guys, right? As long as she's a good guy. And you only have so many Charlotte Flairs who are just naturally talented enough for that to be believable. So I think the next ones you start looking at is and they've transitioned on Monday to Raquel Rodriguez, which is a stepping stone, but Raquel just doesn't have enough credibility. I get what they're trying to do because based on size, I just don't think Raquel has the credibility right now. It's got to be Bianca, right? Bianca's the only one who, when you start, like I said, ticking boxes, Bianca can tick those same boxes. Jade, I think eventually will get there, Jade Cargill, but there's a lot of boxes you can't tick with Jade yet. You can tick them with Bianca, you can tick them with Rhea, and so I think that to me that's the path you got to put Rhea on.
And then my last one was just
sure.
You said Big E made his big comeback.
Yeah.
Do you think that he'll win a championship belt at WrestleMania?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think there's title. I don't think you need a championship for Big E, right? The redemption arc is just getting back in the ring. It's just having one more match, and so what my hope is that he has been cleared at least to go one last time, maybe
one more time,
and maybe it's a super safe match, right? That we're not going to drop him on his head, we're not going to drop him on his neck. My hope is, like I said, you run this course with Kofi and Xavier. You can have Xavier, you can have Big E disappear for the time being. And you run these two as bad guys, and then they can restart bickering right around the time of WrestleMania, reinsert Big E into this, and do a triple threat New Day match. With Big E winning that match, doesn't need any title involved, because the emotion is, like, if that's Big E's retirement match and he wins that match, the emotions in that building are going to be, you'll cut the tension with a knife. It'll be insane. You don't need a title for the amount of lore and story.
It's been
and
a
history.
couple years since
It's been 4 years.
Has it been that long?
It's been 4 years.
Oh my God.
So I'm saying if let's say he's just cleared for one match, that emotion is going to be insane. And then, like I said, it doesn't need Xavier and Kofi will handle the workload of that match. Big E just needs to hit a couple spots
together.
Sure, yeah.
They all worked well together.
No, I think.
But that's about all that I have.
So that's what you got. All right. So then let's move on to my tweets that caught my attention. First tweet was from It's Rang 3R, says, "Bro, what's going on? They must have went to the club last night. This is horrendous." And it's followed by a video of the women's War Games match. I just one last time want to touch on I don't want to beat a dead horse when I talk about this new legion of social media drones that Triple H has deployed out into the world of social media. Yeah. That's blatantly obvious that it's existing, even though people have argued me it's not. It is existing. But like, there are people, I'll post this in a clip because I don't want to get content strikes on this video, so I'm not going to show it here. But you watch this clip from Survivor Series, and there's no way to defend this match. There's really, like, and so anybody, and I've seen it from these people that I know exactly who they are, coming out and going, it's not that bad, guys. It's not that. It's like, no, it is.
If you have to say it's not that bad, you know it's bad and you're just trying to be nice.
Exactly. And like I said, it's not, to me, it's not a direct reflection of anybody in this match. I'm not calling out, like, it just looked chaotic. It looked unorganized. It looked like what you expect a War Games to look like if you give the people 2 weeks to make a story out of it. So I just wanted to highlight that one last time. The other tweet I saw was from Harsh Pal 7843 says CM Punk overshadowed Roman Reigns. Clearly the allure of CM Punk and the chant of Punk was way over for CM Punk than it was for Roman Reigns. Yeah, I said the same thing. I said it earlier. Is that, like, there is an argument to be made right now that CM Punk is the most popular wrestler in WWE. I really think, like, with casual, with IWC, with every audience, he's won back over the crowd. He did exactly what I said he needed to do, was just come in, be a good civilian, do everything that he said he was going to do. He's done it all, and now we're to the point where you can make the argument that CM Punk is the most over superstar in all of WWE. He gets the most consistent chance when he's in the ring with Seth Rollins, when he's in the ring with Roman Reigns. Those are the heavy hitters. Those are the guys. Seth Rollins orchestrates the crowd, right? Roman Reigns commands the crowd, right? But in the sea of all that shit, it's usually a CM Punk chant that kind of ascends above all the other cheers.
Who would have thought the AEW reject?
The AEW reject. Then the last tweet here, Lauren, I thought you'd appreciate this one. This came from Big E's fiance, girlfriend, wife, one of the three.
Boothang.
Pick whichever one is correct, because I don't know specifically. But she went to war with Xavier Woods after that.
Okay.
Which is great. Like, this is when wrestling's at its best. Yes. This is when wrestling's at its best, is when it bleeds over to social media. She said, when we bought our house, I was looking forward to having the boys over. I was mentally already planning on making 2 different meals, one to accommodate True Kofi's vegan ass and Austin Creed wins childish ass palate. But since y'all want to be ungrateful crybaby ass bitches, y'all can choke. Which then Xavier Woods went on to say, looked like I dodged a bullet not having to pretend to enjoy your bland ass meal. And they go on and on. Like, go follow this.
So this is clearly like...
Oh, it's planned. Yeah.
Okay.
No, look, the reality is Kofi, Big E, Xavier, all best friends. Like, the things that were said in that promo on Monday, where they said, Big E said, when we started this, it was set up to fail and we were all we had. That's genuine. That's him genuinely talking. That's real. They were, I think Kofi was in a position where he was pretty much done. I think Xavier was a guy who was probably days away from being fired. And I think they didn't know what to do with Big E. And so they put them together and they made a diamond out of dog shit with that gimmick.
They were one of the first ones that I kind of liked, like the Bootios, all that
stuff.
And
I mean, and that gimmick was so, because it almost was initially presented as like Xavier Woods kind of being a black scholar, and they were a little bit like preacher and religion, and I was
confused for a minute.
And somehow they just morphed that thing into cereal and pancakes and a trumpet and unicorns and rainbows, and it absolutely got over.
I was looking up his girlfriend. She's cute.
Yeah.
I saw their pictures.
Those pictures
really
are
funny.
hilarious, right?
That's awesome.
All right. Got anything else?
Nope.
But that's all we got this week. If you're only here for wrestling, that's it. That's what we have for you this week. If you're interested in comedy, Thursday we were going to have Casual Live, where we're going to be playing some games, doing some different things. What's that?
We're doing Guess the Wrestler.
Oh, I didn't do 20 questions.
No.
I didn't do it. Let's save it for Thursday then.
All right.
We'll do it Thursday.
Let's go.
We'll do 20 questions on Thursday. Then we'll have I'm teetering with names here. It's been called the Nerdy D Pod, but I kind of want to change the name to Outside the Ring.
Oh, that's cool.
Because
like literally
conversation that's happening outside the ring. So that podcast will happen on Friday.
I have something good for that.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm excited. As always, I'm Nerdy D. That's Level Up Lauren. You can ring the final bell, Lauren.
Ding, 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 ding.
silver bullet. Lay down in the squared circle, envy's alive. Time is ticking, but we'll always survive. From Texas to the big leagues, we bring the sound. No IWC, only casuals around.